while it may be more exciting to be on tour with Lacuna Coil and Fear Factory, all these other things are a part of your resume too, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what gets you that thing.
yeah. Everything's a tool in the toolbox.
Welcome, metalheads. I'm the host of Heavy Metal Philosophy and writer for Metal Digest, John Barbas. Make sure you stick around to the end of the episode for this week's riff of the week. And let me tell you something. One of the few things that I enjoy as much as personal success is seeing one of my friends whom I respect getting his own personal success. And my friend Stephen Brewer from Lions at the Gate is doing just that in one of the hardest industries to do it in. The music industry is easily one of the most difficult to make a living in, but he's done it multiple times over. You know, most people don't get their first chance. So to get a second chance is pretty much unheard of. And to hear him tell his story, he actually got multiple chances. And we talk about the things that he did to get him where he's at. Touring with Lacuna Coil and Fear Factory, putting out a big album, being in music videos with Tatiana from Ginger. Big stuff happening for my friend, and it's not an accident. That's the stuff we talk about here. How, when, why, the philosophy that got him where he's going. I really enjoyed catching up with my friend. I hope you will too. Check out my interview with Stephen Brewer from Lions at the Gate. Stephen Brewer from Lions at the Gate. Welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you because not only am I excited about Lions at the Gate, but we're old friends from way back in the day. I've known you for what, 15 years or something now?
Maybe like 2019, maybe? Does that sound about right?
2009.
Excuse me, 2009, excuse me. Yeah, 2009, not 2019, 2009. You're right. Like 2009, 2010, we were playing in bands. I had like a little local thrash metal band. You played guitar in a band as well, and we would like play the same gigs together in like Fayetteville, Raleigh, North Carolina. And does that sound right? Fayetteville?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Whenever we would tour the East Coast, whenever we'd come through the Carolinas, we'd play with you guys and this other band called New Machine. And I'm still friends with all those dudes today too.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Where does time go?
Where does time go? Indeed. It's
infinitely fleeting.
The philosophical question of my life. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you though is because, first of all, back in those days, I already kind of had you pegged. I was like, this guy likes this shit. Like this, we'll get into it. But eventually, you know, the band that I was in, that ended. The band that you were in, that ended. And then I saw on Facebook that you sold all your video game shit and moved out to LA. And I was like, oh shit, this guy's gonna fucking go for it. Like he's gonna fucking do it. You know, here's the thing, man. A lot of musicians, they just play on the weekend and hope something happens, right? You know,
right.
And if you're not in a town where something is gonna happen, that ain't gonna cut it. And unless you're so good that you're getting attention from the wider world, like you just can't just play on the weekends in bars and pray. You did the move. You fucking sold your shit, moved to LA, chased the dream. And I remember seeing that going, this fucking guy.
He's lost his mind.
No, I was so happy. I was like, that's what you got to do, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you did. You went to the Musicians Institute. You started playing gigs in LA, networking. I actually know the name Doc Coyle from you. And like you were telling me about Doc. And then later I was like, oh shit, that's the guy from God Forbid.
Yeah. Doc's the man. I love me some Doc.
And we have really fun interactions on Twitter. That guy is very smart. Very smart.
Yeah. He's a dear friend of mine. I consider him a mentor, and he's always giving me great advice, whether it's just as a friend or as a professional, and a career aspect. So Doc's the man.
Absolutely. So I'm trying to get us to the present. Let's continue going through your backstory. So you went to the Musicians Institute, you wound up on the back cover of like Revolver, or is it Guitar World magazine?
It's I have it right over here. I have like a little corner of like my like very modest success. You know, and it's Revolver. It was like end of 2016, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Slipknot on the cover. I was like, look at my man, he's
Yeah.
on the magazine.
That was through MI because
Yeah,
it was like an advertisement, I think.
yeah, yeah.
So it was just like, hey, cool. Very cool.
Well, that was only the beginning. So then you wound up in this band called the Westfield Massacre, and y'all got a record deal. Y'all were making videos. Y'all were touring. So I was super happy for you. I was like, damn, look, fucking Steven is getting after it. And then, the thing with Bad Wolves went down, and y'all went with a different singer. But then you got another chance with
Yeah.
this new band, Lions at the Gate.
Yeah.
First of all, this business is so fucking hard. It's so much work involved. You toil away for so long before even anybody even knows, and you got to deal with all this charlatans who act like they're a promoter when they're really not, act like they're a booking agent when they're really not,
Sure.
all the personalities. And then you get a chance, you really work at it, it doesn't work out. That's usually the end for most people.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a second chance. You hooked up with the dudes from Il Nino. First of all, that's fucking
hooked
killer.
Up with me. I'm joking.
That's right. Well, actually, that is
Yeah.
kind of the point I was going to make.
Yeah.
First of all, that's really killer, and I'm really happy for you. But it also goes to show that word must have got out. This dude's dependable, or those dudes wouldn't have wanted to work with you.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you. I want to first and foremost acknowledge, the compliments, and it's second chance, third chance, fourth chance. I mean, I've wanted to be a professional musician, be a rock star, live the dream, whatever the quote is, since I was like 12 years old, right? So I don't know if I'd call this my second chance. I would call this like my 11th, my 12th, my 13th.
Yeah, these are just the ones I know about. Yeah.
Because it's like, every time as a kid, when you're like in a local band and like your drummer doesn't want to be in your band, oh no, so like everything was always the end of the world, no matter where you are on your journey. Because like, oh, hey, here's the roadblock, the game's over. And that's not necessarily just where I'm at now or where I was in my 20s, but even as like a teenager, like, it's like, oh no, well, I guess I can't do this, or I'm graduating high school, time to now go find a real job and put my guitars away. No, I always wanted to keep pushing forward. And there's times definitely when it was not as easy, it was maybe more difficult. But, I've always been on the mindset, if you work hard and you want something bad enough that you can obtain it, it won't always be easy by any means, but, this is hard work pays off. We'll just end it with that. But, it's funny, I met Christian and Diego at a Cradle of Filth show because we were friends. We were both friends with the band and crew in like March of 2019. And we just became friends. I'm looking at the thing I did for Christian's record because that reminds me to tell you about that. So I played guitar and helped to write some songs on Christian's solo record. It's like an acoustic Latin kind of jazzy record. And so I was already working with Christian in that capacity. And we did that in New York. And that was first and foremost, that entire record is acoustic the entire time. So you want to talk about nerve-wracking, it's all live too, you know what I mean? So like, as you know, being a guitarist, acoustic is not forgiving. So
that's right. Yeah,
this little side note, it's like, oh, the acoustic record, like, yeah, that was probably the most nerve-wracking record I've ever had a part of being involved with. And Diego, we just started talking guitars and just kind of hanging out and this and that, and they were going through some difficulties of their own. And Diego and I just literally started writing riffs just for the heck of it. It's like, you can't be in a barbershop without getting a haircut eventually. You can't hang around a tattoo studio without, hey man, I've been thinking about, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's gonna happen, right? Success by proxy. It's gonna happen. Somehow or somewhere it's gonna start happening. So Diego and I started writing riffs and just kind of having fun, not knowing where they're gonna go, not really caring, but let's see what happens. And then one thing developed and blossomed into another. I think Diego actually hit me for like guitar lessons, and I came down to his house and was like showing him some stuff. And then I realized like he's not going to practice. So we started writing riffs. I mean, that's probably what happened, to be honest, right?
That's me.
So it's funny. It's funny because he and I were really the catalyst to it all. And of course, I play bass in the band, but for everyone who knows, I'm a guitarist as well. So we really put together some ideas, and then we started putting together some ideas with our producer, Kyle Odell, and he helped us really craft things. And it's such a luxury to work with that individual. He's awesome. So shout out Kyle. And we we threw some riffs together and we showed it to the guys. And at that time they were no longer in El Nino, and we said, hey, let's start a new band. I volunteered to play bass. I'll be Jason Newstead. And here we are. Yeah. That's so like condensed.
That leads me to a point that I always say, like you say, hard work pays off.
Yeah.
But one thing that I always tell people they want to succeed is to say yes to things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you're telling me is that acoustic record was a thing that you said yes to. And now you guys are familiar with each other. Now you know how each other works. You could have easily had let your trepidation about doing a live acoustic record get the better of you, but you said yes, and I've found that that's really, dude, there's so many things that I've gotten to do in the past couple of years that I never would have thought. And it's just because I said yes, and
say yes and figure it out later, right?
Yeah. Rise to the occasion, man. Like,
which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't,
Right. Obviously I try not to be unprepared. I don't just willy-nilly it. But, I said yes, and then I got my ass to studying, like, okay, how do I fucking do this shit? I'm sure it's similar with you, man. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do live acoustic.
And honestly, when you say yes and you figure it out later and you succeed, it's wonderful. And there's other times where you fail, and failure is really the best lesson, because you learn so much from a failure than you will your success. So, and then you use that to your advantage, and then you just do better next time, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Or even like the middling things. It's like, okay, that was middling. How do I make it better?
Yeah, exactly. Like I kind of, get my feet wet, but I know I can do better, Yeah. And sometimes it just takes time to kind of like fill that out,
10 years later, are you really worried about that thing that didn't work out? You're doing another thing now.
And that's the truth. It's like, it is, as you're going through anything in life, not necessarily like professionally, but just personally, whatever it may be, as you're going through it, it is defeating. You'll never recover. And then like, years later, you're like, man, that really was not a big deal. Whatever it is, anything in life, you know what I mean? And, the most important thing is that to be happy with where you are now, and to think that if you could go back in time and tell who you are 10, 15 years ago, what you'd be doing, no matter what it is, if you can blow their mind in a positive way, I think you're doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if I could go back, I would tell my younger self, like, hey man, get into weightlifting. And then the thing that you're doing while you're lifting weights, the way you keep getting stronger, the way everything works, do that with everything else.
Routine. Yeah.
When I figured out that the way you progressively overload the weights is the way you get better at everything else, I was like, fuck, why didn't I know that before?
Yeah, man, dude, like, listen, I'm a big nerd, as you can see by everything behind me. I love Dragon Ball Z, so Goku's always training, you know what I mean? So I'm like,
I'm a Vegeta guy myself.
Push yourself. Dude, look at this. That's right. See, everyone? You know what? I got Trunks here too. How about that? So, yeah. And it's funny enough, like we're saying like a cartoon, but like, you know what? It's anything you use as inspiration just to push yourself to be better than who you were yesterday, personally, mentally, emotionally, professionally, no matter what it is. And that routine and persistence pays off.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's why I kept saying too, like, it's not second chance, it's not third chance. This is like, if we really want to keep tabs, since I was a little kid and first discovered Metallica, this is like, which chance is this? Right?
It's like Luke Thomas says, just keep swinging that axe.
Yeah. You're bound to hit something eventually. So, but I love being a band with those guys. We got along really great, and I think that's, like you said too, like I'm glad I said yes to working with Christian on his acoustic solo record, and I'm glad I said yes to hanging out with Diego and showing him some guitar stuff, and then us just saying, "Hey, let's write riffs." I'm glad I said yes to, um, "Hey, you got to play bass. Cool, let's do it." I don't care. It's great, man. I love being in a band with those guys. We have a great time. I love the music. I love them. It's great, and we're really doing something special. So it's good stuff.
So you said you're tracking guitars. So are you doing guitar work for this band, or is this another project?
I do guitar stuff for whoever. Obviously I play bass with Lions, and that's my band with the guys. But I'm a working musician, so I get hired to play on people's stuff. I get hired to do features or whatever it may be, or God forbid I play guitar for fun, right?
Right, right.
So, being a working musician, you have to have your hand in multiple areas to, suffice a living. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I do some audio engineering here and there. I play guitar, I play bass, I do all that kind of stuff, and it's all par for the course.
Yeah, again, you got to say yes to things
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, while it may be more exciting to be on tour with Lacuna Coil and Fear Factory, all these other things are a part of your resume too, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what gets you that thing.
yeah. Everything's a tool in the toolbox.
Well, speaking of the Lacuna Coil tour, that's
Mm-hmm.
your second Lacuna Coil tour, so I assume you guys must be friends by now. Not,
Yeah, they're awesome people. Andy, Christina, Maki, Dee Dee, and Richard, they're great. Their crew's been great to us. I mean, we were fortunate enough for them to come out with us. We were fortunate enough for them to ask us to be our first tour with them. It's a big deal. Um, they've been around for a long time. They're a very accomplished band. They're awesome, wonderful humans, and it was great. It was an honor in regards to the first tour, and then and in regards to the second tour as well. So it was a big deal to be a brand new band, and like I said, I'm sure I'm repeating myself, but for them to say, "Hey, do you want to open up for us?" Because that's really things that make a career,
yeah.
or start to allow you to kind of start making moves. Um, it allowed us to kind of set a precedence of what we were trying to accomplish with Lions, and yeah, they're awesome. We love them. We have a
So
good time.
for the second tour, they must have felt like you guys did a good job to ask you to do it again.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, or maybe we're just a good hang. I don't know. Yeah,
It could be that too.
yeah,
They're good backstage, but I mean, that's so obviously work hard. That's the
yeah.
advice that everybody's going to give you is work hard. So I just leave that one on the table. Obviously, everybody knows
Hmm.
that one, but say yes to things. And then my other thing that I always tell people is show up on time when you're supposed to and do a good job. And
Yeah,
everything else will take care of itself.
yeah,
They wouldn't have invited you back if it went badly.
yeah. I'm joking around, but no, they're great. We love them. They're legit friends, and the fact that they asked us if we would be interested in coming back out with them again as a 3-band bill, it was great. We were so happy that they reached out to us and asked us if we were interested. And we did have the first tour was very successful. It was our first tour as a band, so we were still trying to kind of, even though we're all professional and we've been touring for quite some time, it was still kind of find your sea legs as like a new band. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Road leg, I guess, right? Um, and to go out again, we just felt even more gelled, more cohesive. We had some shows on our belt, and we had a great time. So I'm sure, obviously, we kicked ass on stage, and then we just try to kick ass as people. So that all makes a difference in who you want to rock and roll with.
Absolutely. It's kind of an unrelated story, but that's my other piece of advice is always try to be somebody that people want to be around. I always hated as a kid when people would say this phrase, it's not who you are, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that when I was a kid because it seemed
Yeah.
so unfair to me because I'm this poor kid from this nothing town. I don't know anybody. It's
Mm-hmm.
not fair. I don't, all these people that know people are getting opportunities and I'm not. It wasn't until later in life when I started making my own path that I figured out something about that saying. So, in my day job, a long time ago, I used to be a programmer and I worked in an office and one of our other programmers left. there was a very small pool of people that worked there that
Mm-hmm.
we could bring in there. And management was asking me for suggestions, and they were coming at it from the standpoint of who's got experience, who's got qualifications, you know. And I said, listen, don't even look at that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care about none of it. I can train them how to program. I'll
Sure.
teach them quickly.
All right.
What I care about is I'm going to be stuck in an office with this person for 8 hours a day minimum. And we're working overtime all the time. So sometimes it's 10, 12 hours a day. You know, I'm thinking about being stuck in here with some insufferable asshole.
Right.
So
It makes a
there's this,
difference, you know. Be a good person. Be easy to get along with. It's like, and I don't know if it's necessarily like who you know. I think the correct another viewpoint that would be who knows you. And people who know you are people who are going to like you and refer you and recommend you for stuff. So I think
right,
that's really kind of like I choose to look at that phrase that way. You know what I mean?
right. That
Because
was
I can
my
say,
flipped
yeah,
understanding of it because
exactly.
I referred a guy
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
was a guy that had been there for 20, 30 years who was pissed that he didn't get the job.
Okay.
Whereas this guy's been there for like a year, got the job.
Yeah.
That's because 20-year guy was an insufferable asshole. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stand being in the same room with him every day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted
Yeah.
this other guy who was a really nice guy, good attitude, and I trained
Mm-hmm.
him and he did the job and it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And going through that taught me, hey, you need to be,
People skills.
yes, it
Yeah.
matters every
Yeah.
bit as much as your guitar skills.
Absolutely. Listen, I am usually not the most qualified person for a gig by any means. I am usually you know, not the I'm not a shredder by today's means by, you know, any standard, you know. I'm a bass player by choice, you know what I mean? Or just what you want to call it. So there's all these things where I said, hey, listen, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, I know what I'm good at. And I've always said, listen, I'll apply myself, you know, I'll be a team player, you know what I mean? So, and that really outweighs probably talent, you know. Um, most importantly, can this person complete the job? And I'm not talking about music, I'm talking about anything, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, if maybe someone isn't your first choice, you can go, I can help them become who they want to be or they need to be, or help them, you know, grow, right? And then, and that being said, it's like, are they likable? You know, long story short, don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
You know,
right. The van is the office. They want
yeah.
guys that they can be in a van with for 12 hours a day when you're driving to the next town.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's way more time in the van than there is on stage.
There's a lot of downtime in touring. There really is. And, you know, fortunately, we all get along real well. And everybody kind of does. We all hang out. And then there's also when everybody kind of does their own thing as well. So it's always like a really healthy balance. You know, I mean, we're all adults, you know. So it makes a difference. And we all get along really well. We respect one another. And we just have fun. You know, that's the most important thing is having fun. And I'm not solely talking about like being in the band, but just like, you know, your job, if you enjoy your job and you enjoy it and you enjoy who you work with, whether you work at FedEx or if you work in a rock and roll band, it makes a world of difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So what I'm taking away from this conversation is sort of like a reaffirmation of what I've always thought, obviously work hard. That goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
Say yes to things, show up and do what you do and be a good dude, and everything else will take care of itself.
You know what? I like that. I like that. I need to get that like framed behind me beside my Misfits poster back there. Just work hard. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
John.
So,
Right.
I mean,
Little. Yeah.
you said you always wanted to do this, and back in 2009, you had set your sights on it, but probably, if I would have told you, hey, man, you're going to be in Atlanta in the end of 2023 on tour with Lacuna Coil and Fear Factory, you may have been like, nah.
I probably would have.
You
I
can't
would have
really,
asked you.
you can't plot your trajectory.
Mm-mm.
You just
No.
have to start going and take things as they come.
But that's the beauty of life. I mean, it really is. You know, it's if we could choose every single thing that would happen, would it be better or more enjoyable than what life gives us? Right?
Yeah.
Because It's like if you could choose everything to happen, you'd probably say, okay, financially well off forever, probably always going to be good looking, going to have a huge house, going to live forever. Like you'd be like, cool, I want all these things in this. There they are, but that's not the case. And I think that because of that, the life throws at you. This makes you go, damn, who would have thought? To me, it's richer and more meaningful than if you just go, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Absolutely. That's been my experience.
Yeah. Because then it's like, wow, it's like, the universe heard me, or I feel like it's more rewarding because, you feel like you've been doing something right. Yeah.
So I think that's a good way to close. Before we close,
okay,
tell me what's going on with Lions at the Gate. What's next for y'all? Y'all just wrapped up the tour. Y'all had that successful release last year, that killer video with Tatiana from Ginger.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. What's next?
What's next? I guess I can talk about this because I think Diego said this on the Scott Bowling podcast. We
always have to keep one in the back pocket, right? Can I say this?
Yeah, no, but do you know Scott Bowling? I think he's in Atlanta too.
I'm not familiar now.
He's another podcaster guy. But he was actually at the show as well. I guess I'm saying this because Christian, Diego, and Naru have all been on his podcast. But Diego said it recently, but we're working on record number 2 right now. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
You're like, that's all right, cut. No. We're gonna release new material this year. I'm not saying that we're absolutely going to release a record this year, but we're going to begin to release new material, which then means we're turning the page to the next chapter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So obviously we'll continue to promote our debut album and whatnot, but we're already, we have one foot into the future already.
Yeah. So
a very long-winded answer.
You might do the same thing. You may not be a full album this year, but singles, tours leading up to the next album. Exactly.
We're playing some of the Danny Wimmer festivals this summer, and then we have some, yeah. We got I can't say it. Anyways, we're playing some festivals. I was like, hold on, oh, delete. No, you almost got it out of me. But we're playing we're playing some of the festivals here in North America, and then we're going to have some tours around those, whatnot. It will be a very busy year for us, and like I said, we're happy with the first record. It's amazing. We're an independent band. We could not have achieved what we've achieved without our team, management, our agent, the fans, our supporters, everyone that believed in us, because we really are an independent band. You know what I mean? There's no big label behind it. There's no big machine, and everything was necessary for us to have the success we're having.
Right on, man. Well, once again, Lions at the Gate, where can they find you?
Everything Lions at the Gate.
Just Google Lions at the Gate.
Yeah,
I'll
literally
have links in the description.
Yeah. Lions at the Gate. We're on all social media, streaming, you name it. Lions at the Gate.
And Stephen Brewer.
But all my social handles and all my professional stuff is under Stephen Brewer Music. So if you want to find me on Instagram or anything like that, it's Stephen Brewer Music. This year, revamping my website. I'm gonna have an online store. So if for some reason anybody wants if anyone would like some Stephen Brewer guitar picks or signed 8x10s or anything like that, or a t-shirt, like I'm kind of putting that together. Just figured why not? I feel like if someone wants it, cool. If not, that's okay too. And I'm also working on Patreon, so I'm hoping to have this all live and rocking and rolling by like mid to late January.
And this episode should air in mid to late January. Hopefully not February, but it's possible. Regardless,
all good.
I'll put all the links in the description so people can find it. Thank you so much for joining. And when you're in Atlanta, we'll hook up again and introduce me to your podcaster friend.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's a nice guy. Happy to.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.